Well, folks, I'm actually here on my lunch break. I'm working because, of course, millions of illegals depend on folks like me for welfare. There's about to be some more thanks to DACA going through. Donald Trump just signed the porculous omnibus piece of crap spending bill, which will give millions of dollars to Planned Parenthood, a group that was a racist organization that was created to murder unborn children of minorities, and still does to this day. It's going to fund, let's see here, the National Endowment for the Arts, the group the people that gave us things like Piss Christ and other anti-Christian, anti-American so-called art. Millions of dollars are going to a bunch of PBS and a bunch of other leftist anti-American organizations. And this is just kind of my little rant on this while I'm here on my lunch break. Yeah, this really sucks. This is what happens when a bunch of people listen to fake Washington D.C. swamp, carefully crafted language from fake conservative Republicans, and they end up actually believing it instead of looking at the record of what they've actually done to reduce the size and scope of government. Or they have pretend reductions in the size and scope of government. Folks, GOP primaries are the only way to save this election. You need to put in conservatives that will actually have a chance of winning office and actually fixing this country. Yes, this nation needs God. Yes, it does need to get the third parties, but they're not up right now. And as for the God issue, yes, there are times in the Bible when nations turn toward God, they did reform, but they needed to remove the corrupt leaders that were in place and replace them. And we have the ability to do that now. We don't have to wait for a violent upheaval to remove a king. At least we don't, not yet. GOP primaries. GOP primaries. Find the people that are running for office. Find out what they've done to reduce the size and scope of government. And no, they don't actually have to be in office to have done that. Matter of fact, that's usually the case. Most incumbents have a crappy record of actually reducing the size and scope of government. There are some exceptions. For instance, Jan Morgan has worked as a reporter, reporting on government corruption, and then stood up against the PC crowd in regards to training Muslims to shoot guns. I'll tell you what I've done. I've fought and campaigned against tax increases, been successful at it too. But, my goodness, Donald Trump just signed the corrupt Omnibus Bill that was rushed through in a cowardly manner. I think it was like 17 hours from the time it was signed for the Congress or the House to read it, and then a few more hours for the Senate. They passed it at midnight, and it was just signed this morning. No effort was made to actually fight for any conservative values. It was written behind closed doors, passed in committee, hurriedly. I mean, and we're told this is the only way to fund the military. This is the only way to fund the border wall. And it barely funds, I think, a few miles of the border wall. Perhaps if there had been effort to reduce the cost that it takes to fund the border wall, it might have been useful. But no, it doesn't even do that. So no, it's not. It will not secure this nation from the invasion of illegal alien crime, which is killing us far more than acts of terrorism that we're supposedly fighting overseas. And yes, our brave soldiers are fighting overseas, but they're still having to ally themselves with corrupt regimes like the Pakistani government. They're still having to have some rules of engagement. Yeah, David, you're right. It's just like the lottery. Oh, it's gonna fix the problems, and then it doesn't. And so yeah, we haven't got rid of the corruption, and it's just like this is the kind of crap that's happening. This is how the nation dies. This is how the USSR was collapsed. They were funding the military, but then they didn't fund anything else, and then everything else was so corrupt that it actually had to collapse. And it's been, of course, redone under Vladimir Putin. But this is how nations fall. and this is how we're going to fall as a nation, as a state. GOP primaries, Republican primary elections. You got to vote these rhinos out. They are what's killing this nation. And the sad thing is if a handful of people would stop making stupid excuses, like, the guy in there is, I like him, or I like his story, or they look at the rhetoric and they go, oh, he says he's pro-life and he says he's pro-gun. Almost every candidate now does that. A lot of the Democrats do that. The special election in Pennsylvania, the Democrat there said he was pro-life. And it's a lie. The vast majority of people aren't pro-life, they just say it. I'm sorry. Often what they'll do is they'll vote for little petty any bills that reduce the ban by 20 weeks or whatever, but then they don't do real tort reform, which stops these junk lawsuits from the ACLU, so it gets banned and overturned and accomplishes nothing. Same thing with gun issue. Oh, I'm pro-gun. I'm pro-gun. Okay, well, let us carry our guns into these schools so we can protect ourselves. So when government officials let some terrorist or illegal or guy on meds that should have been locked up go, they can come. They can defend themselves. Oh no. Oh, Walmart called. The SEC called. Oh, we got to do this enhanced carry thing. That's what happened in my state here in Arkansas. For those that are looking at this and don't know, in Arkansas, yeah, red state. State that voted double digits for Trump and has gone red every year and supposedly has a Republican supermajority now. We couldn't even get the ability to defend yourself. We can't even clear the clarify open carry now. We're still at the mercy of random prosecutors and attorneys, prosecuting attorneys in city and county levels, despite acts of corruption on this issue. We had a corrupt sheriff in Baldwin, Eric Ballantyne, who arrested a guy in the Richard Chambliss trial, which I filmed part of some of the protests regarding that. And he illegally detained Richard Chambliss, who was open carrying. And then at the behest of, I believe, the White County prosecutor, who should also be in jail for that. It turns out Eric Ballantyne was a crook, set his own truck on fire, tried to frame Second Amendment owners. Despite all of that, when we tried to clarify open carry to stop these leftist government officials on a local level from taking away Second Amendment rights, it still was blocked. And then, of course, the enhanced carry, that joke there, which Jan Morgan, who's running for governor, fought so far of.